perimeter. The student initially, they were frustrated, but eventually they felt more empowered.
They want a type of assessment wherein the answers are already there and they can easily pick it up.
Never underestimate the intelligence of the pupils, all types of intelligences.
Mathematics in Philippine classrooms has undergone a significant transformation over time. What once dominated by paper and pencil tests, focused on memorization, speed, and procedural accuracy, has gradually shifted toward the performance-based and project-based approaches that emphasize understanding, application, and critical thinking. This transition, shaped by curriculum reforms such as the move from Basic Education Curriculum or BEC to the K-12 program, reflects a broader redefinition of what it means to learn mathematics. Yet beyond policy changes, the real story lies in the how teachers experienced, adapted to, and made sense of these shifts in their everyday classroom practice.
Good day everyone, I am Marvin J. Libuon, a PhD student in the University of the Philippines Open University. I am currently teaching at Negros Occidental National Science High School as a senior high teacher.
Hello everyone, I am Lian Jansel A.D. Guzman, a PhD in Education graduate student of the University of the Philippines Open University. Currently, I am a senior high school teacher in Calamba City, Laguna.
I am Emmanuel D. G. Villa-Agustin of Talavera Senior High School, currently taking up Doctor of Philosophy in Education, major in Mathematics at the University of the Philippines Open University. So this interview examines the evolution of mathematics assessment not only as a policy but a shift as lived classroom experience. Using oral history, it explores how teachers experienced, interpreted, and adapted to these changes across different curriculum periods.
Okay, so that was back when 1993 when I first taught at DepEd Makiling Integrated School. Actually, that was Makiling National High School then. I was exposed to my students then and I find them very amusing and they are quite interested in learning. I have some students who excel in class and there are also who do not. That assessment that I gave them is the traditional pen and paper pencil because those times, those were the only form of assessment that we are having, and even the periodical exams. I do it face-to-face basis. I give them time, probably an hour or more. Come the advent of time, I practice that. That is the usual thing that we do. We don't have this online assessment, rather pencil and paper. Up to the time that I retired from DepEd, that's the only assessment that I was able to give them. Although some of them were taken into considerations like mimeograph, some were printed, and some were noted to have modules.
When I first started teaching math, my assessment approach was fairly traditional. I primarily relied on summative tests and weekly quizzes. There were several factors that influenced my choice of assessment. One, the clean answer nature of math. It was very easy to fall into the trap of using multiple choice or short answer tests to quickly gauge accuracy. Two, curriculum requirements, which felt like the safest way to ensure I covered the required standards.
When I began to teach, I relied on my experience as a student and from the lessons I learned in my professional education classes. I remember I gave a pre-test during my first day as a college teacher. I checked the prerequisite skills and prepared a pre-test. Back then, I used traditional forms of assessment for formative and summative assessments. It was the practice then, though I was also able to give a few authentic forms of assessment.
What challenges did you encounter in assessing students such as different abilities, absenteeism, lack of resources, or admin pressure, and how did you address them po?
Since the subject is math, Students with logical mathematical intelligence found the subject easy. But for students with other types of intelligence, as more dominant, I found it hard to develop an assessment that suits or cater to their intelligences. I remember I also prepared assessments that involve arts or drawing or writing poems, but these were only for formative assessments. In the grade school, over time, we were able to collect enough resources, specifically manipulatives, considering that the CPA approach or the conflict pictorial abstract approach is very effective in math. Another challenge I encountered in assessing students was lack of time. It was a problem. There were too many competencies. We cannot finish all the required lessons, and we had no choice but to just cover what we can for the given period. So we teachers chose to skip lessons that can wait for the next grade level or lessons that are taken up repeatedly in other grade levels. With regards to absenteeism, I gave them a chance to submit requirements which they missed to submit, and I talked to parents about their standing or their status in the subject.
Coming from different contexts in life, some of them are the ones who are taking care of their siblings because their parents are attending to their work. So I make it a point to pay home a visit. Okay, I conduct home visitations to understand the situations and given the scenario that they are in, so I understand fully why they are not coming to school also. And then if able, they come to school, then that's the time I give them some another type of test, not the usual one because probably they may heard of that, and I don't want them to have a leakage also. And at the same time, I want to measure their intelligence fairly and squarely. When I say lack of resources, does that mean I lack resources on my end to provide the assessment, or are they the one who are lacking resources?
Yes po, on your
Okay.
end, ma'am.
On my end, I don't think I see that as a problem because the test papers are provided free for the students. What I do is administer it. I made the test, I print it out, and then gave them to them as scheduled. DepEd is the one in charge of providing that. They are giving that for free because of the MOOE. There is a certain budget that caters to that when it comes to test papers or administration of exams. So they don't pay anything at all for the test paper. For the administrative pressure, I don't think I have encountered this because we are on a leeway basis. There is a specific date for the schedules to be undertaken, and it was done as scheduled.
So there were several challenges I encountered in assessing students, and this greatly affects the results. For example, differing abilities, absenteeisms, and lack of resources. To address such challenges, I started requiring show your work and use rubrics that awarded points to logical steps taken.
So how did you adapt to major changes such as new curriculum standards, performance-based assessments, project-based tasks, or new technologies, and how did students respond to these changes?
Okay, so nothing is new because previously we are having the CDEP and then the RBEC, the
Yes po.
revised basic education curriculum. Then we have this new one, yung spiral curriculum, wherein a little of this is taught in the grade 7, little of algebra, then intermediate, and then we have what's this geometry, and then advanced algebra. Then we have statistics and probability. Okay, let's say elementary algebra for the grade 7. So it's easier to teach because you have the whole scope within your reach. Unlike in this spiral, you only teach a part or a little of this. Therefore, mastery is lost because on the part of the students, they only cater to a specific task. And as well as the teachers now, we are having a hard time adjusting to that because the mastery also is lost on our end because we need to prepare a lot of instructional materials where in fact on the previous one they are being continuously used as the time progresses from let's say first grading up to the last. I often ask my supervisor that I can alter the curriculum because I don't want it to sound that we are jumping. Let's say I will be handling algebra and then there's a need to teach this law of exponents, which is not a part of that. So I think that will be taught in a later date, and then I will be teaching this first and competencies rather than the other. So there was a time wherein the tests were made by the division office. There was a problem. We need to finish, let's say, the whole
Yes.
chapter to be given for a specific period of time, but due to some, let's say, announcements of no classes, there are disruptions, that we cannot control. So there is the learner suffers because the topics that are that needed to be tackled were not tackled yet due to the absence or the disruption of classes, but they were given in the test. So these are some loopholes that we see, and we find it very disappointing on our part because it should be us, the teachers ourselves, should be giving and administering the test in our way that they have taught. Then comes this pandemic era. When I was instructed to do that online, at first I answered, why me? I'm half of my age, but what I mean by why me is that there are so many other teachers who are more capable than me, considering my age, but they believe that I can speak better than they do. So they thought I could be of better service to these students, handling them using online platform wherein we are using the GMeet classroom. At first, I find it very hard to adjust myself, considering I'm not so very inclined with technology at the time, considering I'm exposed to this traditional lecture type of teaching, no? But fortunately, I was able to deliver naman. No, after this pandemic, I'm asking my grade 7 students, so wherein drills are accomplished daily. I'm asking the multiplication, like what is 3 times 4 or 7 times 3, and they usually answer that they don't know, accompanied with may kamot pa sa ulo. So how come, sabi ko? And then I have problems regarding that because I referred that dilemma and my problem to my principal. I asked him, sir, what I'm going supposed to do, considering these are my students now, how can I teach algebra where in the basic is lacking? Okay. So that was my dilemma right there. So he thought of coming up with an outreach program to reach out to these students.
Adapting to major changes in math education felt like moving from a lecturer to being a facilitator. For example, I replaced some traditional exams to performance-based assessment. Instead of a 20-question worksheet on geometry, I'd ask students to design a floor plan using specific area and perimeter. The student initially, they were frustrated, but eventually they felt more empowered because math felt real.
It was not really overwhelming since the school was supportive. We were sent to seminars and we also had in-house trainings. Technology is user-friendly, so it was not very hard to adapt, and we were also taught how to use it through trainings and seminars. The students tend to perform according to the standards that are set. They can follow as long as instructions are clear. And they are more motivated and interested when teachers consider the context of the students and when teachers use technology and real life situations.
So I did an action research entitled Project Gabay, Sabay Aral, Sabay Tang-anim sa Sipnayan ng Makiling Elementary School. This Makiling Elementary School was just adjacent to our school then. So I made it a point to eat early my lunch. And then I go there and I teach those students, which happens to be the respondents of this action research, no? And these are 38 to be exact, no? They are the ones who failed below the pretest that I gave them. So I teach, let's say, for 45 minutes, then I will be giving them an evaluation right after that. Okay, I taught for a month handling those kind of students, and it did well because they are having fun and they are enjoying the time that we are having. The only dilemma I had there and the problem was they are very hungry at that time. So some of them are not attending that review anymore because they are heading home. But in general, it was successful and I was commended then. It was actually, it earned a recognition on my part. And I even presented that in a conference in Malaysia, a Project Gabay, because I felt that the necessity is there and there are more than 38 students who are needing this kind of intervention. When I left Makiling, that was 2005. So this Project Gabay went through because it was a legacy. We are catering not only this Makiling Elementary School, but the other schools, elementary schools within our cluster. They are very thankful because they find it very profitable and very benefiting as far as the students are concerned, especially that before having their exams, they resort to this as a review because they made it in the form of module. It is on the expense of the school, and we gave the students each one the copy a 1:1 ratio. So that was the legacy I left in DepEd Makiling.
My memorable experience related to math assessment is solving the area and perimeter. The students were very tired of memorizing formulas and got failed. So I offered retake and I redesigned the assessment. I gave them a performance task to make a garden plot using the area and perimeter. I learned that concrete and tangible assessments arouses interest and promotes understanding.
After our lesson on operations with numbers, this was in grade school, I let them play Scrabble to apply what they learned, especially in addition, subtraction, and multiplication. But I felt frustrated because they do not know how to play Scrabble. And it took so much time to teach them the mechanics. In one of our performance tasks, this is also in grade school, the pupils played basketball shooting. Each pupil was given 20 attempts to shoot the ball. Data was recorded and then they were asked to compute for theoretical and experimental probabilities. The pupils had fun while they learned. There was a surprising result with grade 1 students. During discussion, during discussion in the valuing part, I was surprised by the reaction of the pupils towards care for the environment. They were very much aware of what's happening to the environment, about climate change, about pollution, and about trees being cut. And also, I was amazed that a grade 1 pupil knows about the reason why there are 366 days during a leap year. What I learned from it, never underestimate the intelligence of the pupils, all types of intelligences. Another thing, an assessment may not always be pen and paper test.
Think when it comes to open-ended questions, they don't like that much. They want a type of assessment wherein the answers are already there and they can easily pick it up. Kaya sometimes I resort to that notion that they are just nanghuhula. Okay, but I don't like that, and I usually require them to have scratch papers, not just making hula out of the question or mini, mo. Okay, and this type of assessment wherein students are to take online, I think it needs isn't it's not that I am against it, but I think the paper and pencil will work well. We will be conducting our midterm exams wherein uh, we will be administering online assessments. I, for one, doesn't go for this kind of assessment because they are prone to cheating. Okay, and that might come true also with the students that I will be handling. Let's say even mathematics students. You see, the students nowadays they are very smart and they are really there are a lot of shortcuts they do, or they have a lot of palusot saying that the internet is not working pretty well. We have glitches, ma'am, so that's why can you still open the access link so that we can continue with our exams or something like that.
Changes in math assessments greatly affect students by moving from knowing to doing. This means traditional assessments often prioritize rote memorization and surface learning. On the other hand, redesigned assessments such as performance tasks or portfolios require students to apply concepts to real-world scenarios.
Firstly, instructions must be clear so that the students will exactly know what to do. Sometimes their answers are incorrect because they did not understand the instructions. So instructions must be clear. And then if situations are realistic, students can relate and do better in assessments. Also, they are more motivated to do well in assessments if they see its significance in their lives. So we need to consider the context of the students. Well, traditional assessment has its own purpose. Authentic assessment, authentic forms of assessment has its own purpose as well. What is important is there is balance between the two and that the assessment conducted is reliable, valid, and fair.
The evolution of mathematics assessment in the Philippine classrooms reflect a broader transformation in basic education. From paper and pencil tests that emphasize memorization and procedural skills, assessment has gradually shifted. especially with the implementation of K-12 program, toward performance-based tasks that value understanding, application, and real-life relevance. However, beyond policies and curriculum guides, this transition has been shaped by teachers who work within limited resources, adapted to changing expectations, and continuously responded to the needs of their learners. Their experiences show that assessment in the Philippines is not only measure of learning, but also a reflection of the realities, changes, and aspiration within our classrooms. Reforms may begin on paper, but change happens in the classroom.
Ayan, mas clear ngayon. Nagpalit na ako. Headset na gamit. So, sorry if I keep you waiting. I did something a while ago. Naalala ko lang, pero nag-alarm ako 1:55. Sorry.
That's fine po. Thank you so much po, ma'am, sa time niyo. So, can we start po, ma'am?
I am Agnes. I am here to answer questions on mga bakas ng chalk ni ma'am at sir.